Hi everyone, I've been getting a lot of requests for this. So today I'm walking you through an EMP501 reconciliation and submission. But this time we're doing it manually with no payroll software like I showed in a previous video. If you're handling payroll manually or using spreadsheets, this video is for you. I'll cover how to manually add an employee on Easyfile and complete their EMP5 certificate. Then I'll add an IT3A certificate for an employee earning less than the tax threshold. This is someone who doesn't pay tax but for whom UIF and STL are applicable. Next, I'll show you how to complete an EMP5 certificate for an existing employee. Unlike the IT3A, which is for employees below the tax threshold, an EMP5 is issued when pay-as-you-earn has been paid. I'll be walking you through a real-life manual submission where I'll show you the typical salary and deduction source codes I used. Keep in mind, these codes worked for my specific situation, but yours may vary depending on your payroll setup. Once the certificates are in place, we'll request the EMP501 information from SARS e-filing. This will allow us to ensure everything lines up. After requesting, it's crucial to review the EMP501 return and confirm that your certificate amounts match the EMP501 declarations. Once you're confident that everything is in balance, we can move forward and submit the EMP501 to SARS. Lastly, for those like me who need that extra peace of mind, I'll show you how to get proof that everything has been submitted to SARS successfully. As always, this is a general guide based on how I handle these submissions. It might not align perfectly with your business, but it'll give you a solid starting point and help you navigate some common challenges. In this demo, I'll be doing a mid-year submission, which covers the period from 1st of March to 31st of August. However, the steps I'll show you are exactly the same whether you're doing a mid-year or a full-year reconciliation. Now let's be honest, manually processing payroll isn't ideal. Typically, people have their monthly details in spreadsheets like mine here, and then create a summary that links all the employee totals to a single summary page. What often happens next is that people manually enter these totals into Easyfile to submit the EMP501 reconciliation. Before you start entering data into Easyfile, it's crucial to first check that the pay-as-you-earn, STL and UIF totals from all the employees in your spreadsheet match the statement of account from SARS e-filing. Don't just start typing away. Resolve any discrepancies before even attempting the submission. I'm not going to cover how to resolve those differences in this video because there could be numerous reasons and methods for addressing them. Instead, I'm showing you that I've performed this check, everything matches, and I'm ready to move on to the next step. To open Easyfile, click on the Easyfile icon on your PC. Enter your username and password. Then click Login. Select a business registered with SARS as the employer and press Continue. The number starting with a 7 is your employer registration number with the South African Revenue Service. Once you're ready, click OK. We're now on the Easyfile homepage. Let's start from the beginning by adding an employee for whom we'll manually create and submit an EMP5 certificate. Under the Employee Admin heading, select View, Edit Employees. Then click Add Employee. There are 3 sections to complete: personal information, contact details, and bank details. I'll go through each field and fill in as much information as I have available. The fields marked with a red asterisk are mandatory and must be completed. In most cases, the nature of person will be A for an individual with an ID or passport number. You'll then need to fill in the following: surname, first two names, initials, date of birth. Use the calendar to select it. ID number, income tax number. Once all these fields are completed, click Next. You'll now be directed to the Employee Contact Details page. I'll complete the information I have, which also meets the minimum requirements: business telephone number, work address, residential address. The postal address is the same as the residential address. Once all the details are entered, click Next. You'll then be directed to the employee's bank details. Complete all the required fields. Click Save. And you should see a message confirming the employee has been added successfully. Press OK. Now that the employee has been added, let's move on to capturing their EMP5 certificate. This is a crucial step as it ensures all their earnings, deductions and tax details are accurately recorded for submission to SARS. To get started, click Add Certificate. At the top, select the transaction year. The period of reconciliation can either be 02 for the February full year reconciliation or 08 for the August mid-year reconciliation. Next, select the certificate type and the year of assessment. For pay periods worked, I'll enter the fraction I calculated as the employee started on the 27th of June and didn't work for the full period. This is reflected in the certificate's tax period start date. The certificate period end date is 31st of August for the mid-year submission. Now select the SIC code, which is the Standard Industrial Classification Code, which is mandatory to avoid validation errors and failed submissions. I accidentally omitted the employment start date. Let me add that now. Note that this date is only required when adding a new employee and is not necessary for existing employees. Now comes the exciting part: adding the certificate's source codes along with their values. These codes represent the amounts we've held and paid for this employee. Let's get into the details and ensure everything is captured accurately. Press the Manage Source Codes button. First enter the value for code 3601, which is for income subject to pay as you earn, and then click the Add Source Code button. I've just noticed I made a mistake when selecting the certificate type. It should be EMP5, but I selected IT3A. Luckily, this is a great opportunity to show you how to fix it. Click Close, go back to the certificate type field, and change the selection to EMP5. Once that's corrected, return to the Manage Source Codes button. For pay as you earn deducted, the code is 4102. Enter the value and click to add the next source code. Code 4141 covers the UIF contribution, which includes both the employer and the employee's contributions. Enter the total value. We continue with source code 4142, which is for the Skills Development Levy, or SDL contribution. Enter the amount. Click Add Source Code. And once all the fields are completed, press Close. You'll see the certificate details reflected across different sections. Income received is based on the codes entered. Total income received is automatically calculated. Since there were no deductions, the final block contains all the necessary information for tax, employer and employee contributions. Now that everything is in place, I'll save the certificate. And that's it, folks. The certificate has been added successfully. Now that we've walked through how to add a new employee and capture their RP5 certificate, let's shift gears and see how to add an IT3A certificate for an existing employee. Starting from the Easyfile homepage, we won't need to add their details from scratch, so this process will be quicker. Under Employee Admin, select View Edit Employees. Choose the relevant reconciliation period. And from the list of employees, click View next to your employee. You'll notice the previous periods. We'll follow the same steps as before, starting with Transaction Year. Period of reconciliation, 08 August mid-year or 02 for February full year. Certificate type, this time select IT3A. Year of assessment, this is the year in which February falls. For example, if you're doing the 6-month reconciliation in August 2022, the year end will be 2023. Pay period worked. Since this is an existing employee, enter 6 for the full 6 months. Pay periods in the year. This should be 12 for monthly paid employees, 26 for bi-weekly, and 52 for weekly paid employees. For an existing employee, you can leave the employment date empty. The certificate tax period start is usually the 1st of March, unless the employee is only a weekly or bi-weekly wage with a different starting date. The certificate end date is the 31st of August, unless the employee resigned before then, or the last day of their wage cycle differs from the 31st. Make sure to complete the standard industrial services codes from the drop-down list. That wraps up the first part of the certificate. Manual submissions should be kept very simple. Having a complicated payroll with too many details can lead to errors during the SARS submission process. The worst case scenario is trying to manually submit payrolls with complex salary structures or deductions, like pension and medical aid funds. Honestly, if I were handed something like that, I'd flat out refuse. It sets you up for failure. Instead, consider using payroll software. If you want to see how I submit an EMP501 return using Site's Business Cloud Payroll, check out this video. You'll also find a link in the description. Now let's move on to capturing the values under Manage Source Codes. In this example, I'm sticking to 1 or 2 basic income types. First, I'll select code 3601 for the salary value. Add it. And then move on to code 4141 for UIF contributions, covering both employer and employee amounts. Next is code 4142 for STL contributions. Finally, code 4150 for the IT3A, which explains why no tax was deducted. I'll choose option 2 here because the income is below the tax threshold. Once all source codes are added, click Add Source Code and I'll close the window. As you can see, it's all about simplicity when it comes to manual submissions. One income source. Gross remuneration calculated automatically. No deductions. And the tax credits and employer-employee contributions outlined. Finally, I save the certificate and we get the confirmation that it's been successfully saved. Press OK. Then click the View Edit button to return to the employee list. Now I'm going to add one more certificate. This time I'll show you how to add and complete an RP5 certificate for an existing employee, not a new one, since we've covered that before. I'll go through this quickly, so heads up. Feel free to pause the video if you need to catch up. From the employee list, select the one you need by clicking the View button next to their name. Then click the Add Certificate button. Select the transaction year and the period of reconciliation. For the certificate type, choose RP5. Next, enter the year of assessment and the pay periods worked, 6 for monthly payments, with a total of 12 pay periods for the year. Finally, complete the SIC code. And then we'll head over to Manage Source Codes. We'll start with the standard code 3601 for the employee's normal salary. Enter the value. Then click Add Source Code. Next, we'll handle the pay-as-you-earn deducted using code 4102. Fill in the value. Click Add Source Code and move on to code 4141 for UIF contributions, covering both employer and employee amounts. Enter the value and add source code again. Now for the STL contribution, which is code 4142. Enter the amount, add the source code, and then close the source code widget. At this point, you can double check the certificate details against your source data, like your spreadsheet. Once you're happy with everything, save the certificate. And there you have it, 3 types of certificates manually added to your EMP501 submission. But we're not done yet. After completing all your employee certificates, it's time to perform the reconciliation and declaration to SARS, where e-filing comes into play. Ready to get into that next step? Let's go! First, we need to request the EMP501 information from SARS e-filing. In Easyfile, head to the left sidebar and under the reconciliation heading, click on the declaration field. Select the reconciliation period you're working on and hit the request button. Accept the data to allow Easyfile to pull in information from SARS e-filing. You'll be prompted to log into your e-filing profile. And once you're in, you'll see the familiar pay-as-you-earn, STL and UIF amounts populated. Hold tight while Easyfile finishes loading your EMP501 return. Once done, your job is to review the return and make sure the certificate amounts match your EMP201 declarations. I'll quickly fill in the tax practitioner section and head over to the financial particulars. Here I'll check that the total monthly liability aligns with the payments made. The pay-as-you-earn, STL and UIF totals should match the tax certificate amounts. Ideally, the difference fields should be 0 and the final amount should also be null. Now, let's submit the EMP501. Go to the top menu, click on File and select File and Close. Easyfile will let you know that your declaration is ready to file. A message will pop up telling you to go to the submission screen to complete the process. Click OK. And that's exactly what we'll do next. Under the submission heading on the left, click Submit to SARS. And then go to the Submit checkbox. Mark it and click the Submit button. Easyfile will then prompt you to select a folder on your PC to save the reports. We'll wait a moment while the system generates the files, but before it completes, you'll be prompted to log into SARS e-filing again and accept the declaration. Only then will the EMP501 be generated, saved, and you'll see the message confirming the data has been successfully submitted. Now, if you're like me and you love having proof that everything's been sent to SARS, here's what I do. I head over to the utilities and open the EMP501 status dashboard. Here I can see the date and the time the EMP501 was submitted. One more thing to check is the ETV column. If it's empty, that means there are no errors. I can finally sigh in relief. Now with everything completed successfully, I can log off, knowing the job is done. That wraps up today's video on manual EMP501 submissions. I hope this guide helps you tackle the process with confidence. If you want a more automated approach, check out my previous video on using payroll software for EMP501 submissions. Thanks for watching. See you next time.